My fiancé's rich family made fun of my dead mom's Christmas gifts. I ended our engagement right there in front of everyone. I, 34M, still can't believe I'm writing this. 2 weeks ago, I was planning what should have been the happiest day of my life. Now I'm sleeping on my brother's couch, my phone blowing up with messages I can't bear to read. It started 6 months ago when I proposed. We'd been together for 3 years, and everything felt right. She said yes immediately, tears streaming down her face. I remember thinking I'd never felt so certain about anything. Her family is wealthy, like vacation homes and country club memberships wealthy. My background is more modest. Single mom who worked 2 jobs to raise me and my younger brother after dad took off. Mom passed away from cancer last year, and it's still a raw wound. She was so excited about the engagement when I told her, even from her hospital bed. She better treat you right, she'd said, squeezing my hand with what little strength she had left. The trouble began during dinner at her parents' house last weekend. It was supposed to be a celebration, a chance for both families to come together before the wedding next month. Her entire extended family showed up. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even her grandparents flew in from across the country. From my side, it was just my brother and his wife. The evening started normally enough. Her father opened several bottles of expensive champagne, making a show of explaining the vintage and how much each bottle cost. I noticed my brother looking uncomfortable. He's always been sensitive to class differences, but I gave him a reassuring nod. After dinner, everyone moved to the living room for coffee and dessert. That's when her mother started asking about our honeymoon plans. We're thinking of renting a cabin in the mountains, I said. Something quiet where we can hike and relax. Her mother exchanged a look with her father. Oh, but darling, she said to my fiancé, I thought we discussed that resort in the Maldives, the one where your cousin had her honeymoon. My fiancé looked embarrassed. We haven't decided yet, Mom. Well, I suppose a cabin could be rustic, her mother said, her tone making it clear what she thought of the idea. Sort of like camping, but with a toilet. Several family members laughed. I let it slide. I've gotten used to these little jabs over the years. Then her father asked about wedding suits. Have you ordered your tuxedo yet? He asked. Actually, I'm wearing my mom's favorite tie with a new suit, I explained. She bought it for my college graduation. It's this deep blue color she always said matched my eyes. The room went quiet for a moment. You're wearing a dead woman's tie to your wedding? Her cousin blurted out, and a few people snickered. I felt my face get hot. It's important to me that my mom is represented somehow. My fiancée put her hand on my arm. I thought we decided you'd wear the tuxedo my dad's tailor suggested. We discussed it, but I told you how much this meant to me, I said quietly. Her father shook his head. No offense, but wearing some old tie seems a bit morbid and inappropriate for the venue we've booked. That old thing probably wouldn't match the wedding colors anyway, her mother added. What was it, polyester? More laughter rippled through the room. I looked at my fiancée, expecting her to say something, to defend me, or at least change the subject. Instead, she gave a small, uncomfortable smile. Mom's right. I don't think it would look good in the photos. Something cold settled in my stomach. The tie is silk, actually. Mom saved for months to buy it. Her mother waved a hand dismissively. Well, regardless, I'm sure your mother would understand that some traditions need to be updated. It's not like she had experience with proper weddings, from what you've told us. The room seemed to freeze. Even some of her family members looked shocked. What's that supposed to mean? I asked, my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. Oh, you know, her mother continued, seemingly oblivious to the tension. From what you've said, she was always working those jobs of hers. Court clerk, and what was the evening job? Waitressing. Not exactly the country club set. My brother stood up suddenly. I think we should go. But something kept me rooted to my seat. I needed to hear what my fiancé would say. I looked at her, silently pleading for her to step in, to say something. Anything, to defend the woman who raised me. She looked down at her hands. Mom, please. Her mother continued, as if she hadn't heard. I just think it's sweet that he wants to honor his mother, even if it's not appropriate for the occasion. But you know what might be better? We could make a small donation to that cancer place in her name. That way she's part of the wedding without disrupting the aesthetic. Her father nodded approvingly. That's a thoughtful compromise. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother isn't an aesthetic problem to be solved. No one's saying that. My fiancée finally interjected, her voice low. But Mom has a point. The tie doesn't really go with the wedding theme, and there are other ways to honor your mom. Like what? I challenged. Like the donation idea, she said. Or maybe we could have a small photo of her at the memorial table with my grandparents who've passed. Her cousin leaned forward. Isn't that table just for family, though? The silence that followed was deafening. She would have been family, I said quietly. My fiancé's mother let out a small laugh. Well, technically not yet. And now that I think about it, perhaps it's for the best. No offense, but from what you've described, she might not have fit in with our family events anyway. I stared at her, unable to process the casual cruelty of her words. What my wife means, her father jumped in, clearly sensing danger, is that different backgrounds can sometimes be challenging. I'm sure your mother was a lovely woman, but what? I interrupted. He cleared his throat. Well, there's a certain way things are done in our circle. Certain expectations. I'm sure she did her best with what she had. And what she had was obviously not much, her mother added with a small laugh. Remember when you told us about how she used to wrap your Christmas presents in newspaper because she couldn't afford proper wrapping paper? So creative of her. I remember telling that story to my fiancée in bed one night, my voice thick with emotion as I described how my mom would carefully select the comic strips section because she knew they were my favorite. How she'd spend hours making elaborate bows out of colored yarn to make up for the lack of store-bought decorations. I hadn't told her so her family could use it as a punchline. My fiancée must have seen something change in my face because she squeezed my hand. They don't mean anything by it, she whispered. But I could see in her eyes that she knew exactly what they meant. Worse, I could see that some part of her agreed with them. Do you remember, her mother continued, apparently encouraged by the lack of objection, that story about how she used to take him to that library every weekend because it was free entertainment? She turned to her sister. Can you imagine? We were taking our kids to Europe, and his poor mother was excited about a library card. Several people laughed, and I saw my brother's wife put a restraining hand on his arm. I looked at my fiancée. Are you going to say anything? She bit her lip. Mom, that's enough, okay? You're embarrassing me. Not, you're being cruel. Not, how dare you speak about his mother that way. Just, you're embarrassing me. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just her parents. This was her too. I stood up slowly. The room quieted, all eyes turning to me. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, but my mind was strangely calm. With perfect clarity, I understood what I needed to do. The wedding's off, I said. Her face went pale. What? You heard me. The wedding is off. My voice was steady, which surprised even me. Don't be ridiculous, her father scoffed. Sit down. You're making a scene. No, I said. I'm making a decision. I'm not marrying into a family that thinks it's okay to mock my mother. And I'm certainly not marrying someone who sits there and lets it happen. My fiancée stood up, grabbing my arm. You can't be serious. They were just joking around. Were they? Because I didn't hear you defending her. Or me. This is absurd, her mother said. All this fuss over some harmless comments about a woman who isn't even. Choose your next words very carefully. My brother cut in, his voice dangerous. The room fell silent again. My fiancée was crying now. Please, let's just go outside and talk about this. You're overreacting. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Maybe for the first time. That's the thing. I don't think I am. I think this is exactly the right reaction to finally seeing you clearly. I gently removed her hand from my arm. I loved you. And I thought you loved all of me, including where I came from and the woman who made me who I am. But you don't, do you? Of course I do, she protested, tears streaming down her face. Then why didn't you stop them? Why did you join in? She had no answer. My mother worked herself to the bone to give me and my brother a good life. She went without so we could have what we needed. She taught us that character matters more than money. That kindness matters more than status. I looked around the room. If she saw me marrying into a family that thinks her life was a joke, she'd be heartbroken. And she'd be right. Her father stood up now. Now listen here. No, you listen, I said, surprised by my own boldness. Your money doesn't make you better than my mother. It doesn't even make you her equal. She had more class working night shifts at a diner than you have in your entire mansion. I turned back to my fiancée. I hope someday you realize what you lost tonight. Not me. I'm not that arrogant. But the chance to be part of a family that actually understands what matters in life. I nodded to my brother and his wife, and they stood up immediately. As we walked toward the door, I stopped and turned back one last time. By the way, those Christmas presents wrapped in newspaper comics? Best gifts I ever got. Because they came with love, not a price tag. The drive back to my apartment was silent. My brother kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror, clearly worried, but he didn't push me to talk. When we arrived, I realized I couldn't face going inside. The apartment was filled with her things, photos of us together, plans for a future that no longer existed. Can I crash at your place tonight? I asked him. Of course, he said without hesitation. As long as you need. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Her calls, her texts, even emails from her parents trying to clear up the misunderstanding. My brother wanted to throw my phone in the lake, but I kept it, though I haven't answered anyone except my friends and my boss. Yesterday, a package arrived at my brother's house. Inside was my mother's blue tie, which I'd left at our apartment. There was a note. I'm sorry. You were right about everything. Please call me. I put the tie back in its box and closed the lid. Maybe someday I'll be ready to talk to her again. But not today. Today, I'm going to visit my mom's grave and tell her she was right all along. I deserved someone who would treat me right. Someone who would have been proud to wear a second-hand tie because of what it represented. Someone who would have been worthy of being called her daughter.